just me by the sea. I'm glad no one's here to mess it up for me. I'm glad no one's here, just me by the sea. But man, I wish I had a hand to hold. I saw an orange starfish on the side of a rock. I poked on his back and tried to pull him off. A crab scared me away, ran close to my toes. And man, I wish I had a hand to hold. The moon is nowhere, almost time for the sun. The voice of the waves sounds anciently young. I'm a prisoner of freedom, 10 toes in the sand. And man, I wish I had a hand to hold.
Come into our house of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the long-timers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena. And from the heart of our homes, we're always so glad to welcome our friends on live stream. We continue to celebrate this month of Spirit Ember. For those of you that were here the first Sunday of this month, you know we renamed January to Spirit Ember. And this month we're exploring different facets of self-care. That very first Sunday, we looked at our own ways that we meet the needs of self-care, that it is a practice, not a purchase. Last week, we made some connections between justice and the world and self-care of ourselves. Today, you get to hear from members of our own Throop pastoral care team. We will hear from Rachel Ryan and Karen Hirsch, Lynn Sexton, and Jean Prince. And then next Sunday, we'll wrap up the month by looking at the concept of community care. If you're new to Throop, we'd love to stay in touch with you, and you can fill out the info card that's in the pew back in front, and a little bit later in the service, hand that into an usher. Welcome and happy rainy Sunday. Each one of us is a light in the world, and the flame from our chalice symbolizes and reflects that light.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame from our candles of hope and witness. Our chalice flame marks this time and this place as holy. We honor this holy place by promising each other to trust the wisdom we each hold, to tell our stories as honestly as we can, and listen to those stories with love and care. In this holy place and in this holy time and place, may we feel the strength of the relationships we nurture here. Okay, we light a second candle. We lit a second candle to honor the people and ancestors whose lands we now occupy. The land under and around Throop is the unceded land of the Gabrielino Tongva Band of Mission Indian people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into dismantling systems of supremacy and oppression. We lit a third candle symbolizing our watershed, the Arroyo Seco. May their waters continue to nourish life in our communities. We take a moment of silence, holding all of these in our hearts.
And with a sense of joy and laughter, I invite you all to sing our welcoming hymn, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. It's number 1008. It's in that teal hymnal. Rise and sing out as your body and spirit allow.
When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each other's, and recover every creed and tongue, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving eye, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place.
Turn to a neighbor and gently welcome them into worship. are blessed with love and amazing grace, when our heart is in a holy place,
when our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
Our hearts showing up in holy places, it can look so different. And it feels so good. One of the ways that's showing up today is through the return of one of our very own Throop stars, Melanie, who was up here lighting our candles a little earlier. Melanie, we love you. There was an unauthorized move that happened here. I don't really remember any of us signing off on it, but last summer, Melanie returned. Here I am telling your whole story. I don't need to do that here. But anyway, she moved away. We've all been very sad. She had a surprise return this weekend, and it's just super joyful. Yeah, so glad you're here. And then another way that a heart showed up in a holy place over this last week was one of our Throop friends, Jacqueline. We know Jacqueline and Maggie, the dog that comes. Very famous. And Jacqueline did give me permission to share all of this. Jacqueline is a journalist with the LA Times, and part of what moves Jacqueline's heart is being part of the union. And Jacqueline was super involved last week in organizing journalists at the LA Times to show up for what is right and just in their work life. And Jacqueline helped organize the strike that took place last week. And some of you, I know, saw Jacqueline on the news. And Jacqueline, we're just really proud and thankful. And we're here to help support you and your coworkers because we believe in the freedom of the press. There needs to be a vibrant press, and we believe in truth and journalism. And thank you for putting your values into action. This morning's worship that's being led by members of our pastoral care team, it focuses on the ways we listen to one another. And sometimes the beauty of our earth gives us lessons in listening. And one of my favorite poets, Mary Oliver, she writes so beautifully about the ways our earth helps her listen to some of the tiniest details. And this morning I share her poem, When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locusts, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, stay a while. The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine. And this morning, as we say our promise to our planet together, ask you to hold in your own heart and mind some tree out in the world that you feel like helps your own light shine forth. And we say these words together. They're in the order of worship. As members of the family of living beings on earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect for the interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. With hearts filled with love for it, eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred and scarce resources, We promise to nurture the well-being of all life and of the planet itself.
This is Shoulders by Naomi Shihab Nye. A man crosses the street in rain, stepping gently, looking 2 times north and south, because his son is asleep on his shoulder. No car must splash him. No car drive too near to his shadow. This man carries the world's most sensitive cargo, but he's not marked. Nowhere does his jacket say, fragile, handle with care. His ears fill up with breathing. He hears the hum of a boy's dream deep inside him. We are not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what he is doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling.
Thank you, Rachel. Well, this morning, as we are just delving into ways that we listen to one another, I'm going to have you all do a little practice of listening with one another, and I'm going to ask you to get into groups as easily as you can without moving too far from where you are, into groups of 4 or 5 people. And then once you, just get into groups of 4 or 5, and then I'm going to give you your next little bit of orders. All right, so you are more or less in your groups, fantastic. And then in your groups, I'd like you to share your name as a way to get to know the other people in your group. But then also, I'd like you all to find 5 things that you have in common in your group. And one of the things can't be that you're here at Throop today, because come on, no. And then the other thing can't be that you share like a human body, because hello, except for Maggie and Phoebe in here, we obviously all have human bodies. So 5 things that you have in common other than those 2 things. Enjoy. Okay, bring the thought you're in to a close. And so, Taryn, with your group, what's one of the things that your group found in common? Ah, okay. So in that group, none of them were raised Unitarian Universalist. How about the group that Teresa Bailey's in? Anything in common back there? Oh, they're all Democrats. Okay. David Drum, your group. They all like peanut butter, but did you get into whether you like creamy or crunchy? I would never even dare to go into that water. No, thank you. Yum. I love peanut butter too. And then Steven, how about your group? Wow. So for those who couldn't hear, that group all loves coffee. They deeper shared with each other that means they get up at least once in the night. And they've lived in at least 5 different cities, and they also have some college among them. Good. And then how about the group in the front? They love puns. Oh, okay. And how about this group? Oh, they're all performers. Yes. Okay. And then how about the group that Richard's in? They're all lovers of nature. Oh, that makes sense. You found your way into Throop then. And then how about Jacqueline's group? They all love to cook, and they all love the birds and the community. And one little side note is it's the time of year that the ravens come back into Troop. And so if you come into the church through the Delmar doors, you'll see right now there's little sticks and twigs. I don't know if they're just ones that they've discarded, but they like to make a nest in the Troop Tower, and they have their young and teach them to fly later out from our tower. And then I think the one more group we have to report in other than mine is Hans's group. One thing you have in common? Oh, they all have older siblings. And you all have wheels? Oh. Hans said they all have wheels, and Hayo, the youngest, is here. So I guess that would be Hayo's stroller or bike? Okay. And then they're all Democrats back there, Winnie. Yeah. And I see some other hands raised. All are welcome, of course. And then our group, one of the things that we realize we have in common is a real love of water and just that feeling of awe you get when you see the immensity of the ocean, when you look out and you just only can see water. And well, anything else that your group said that you're like, ooh, I need everyone in the church and on the live stream to know that my group had this in common? Ian, yeah, what is it? Were you raising your hand? Ah, okay, there's some fly fishing sport in the middle of this section here. Well, good. Thank you. So I hope that you, got to know some people in your group. Maybe there's some things that came up that you'll want to talk to them more about during coffee hour, which happens right after the worship service. And again, just a fun little exercise in getting to listen to some other people in the sanctuary and to discover maybe some surprising things that you have in common. And each week we have a space for the youngest among us to listen and learn and get to know each other better. And we sing them into their program each week. Today, Clara and Faith are with the young people, and I'm not sure if anyone's going to go upstairs other than maybe Hio to the nursery. I'll let you all figure that out. But the words that we use to sing them out are in the order of worship. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. For you shall go out in joy, for you shall go out in joy, and come back in peace, and come back in peace. Blessed be. When you get ready to listen to someone, one of the key things you have to do in your own body and your own spirit is really give over your attention to the person in front of you. And one of our pastoral care team members, Karen Hirsch, who is probably with us on live stream, Karen wrote a poem about that important aspect of paying attention.
A cup of tea with a view of trees. In this gentle now, worry about how you are doing, your loss, your illness, your struggle. And then also smiles for your delightful joys. Delight in your baby, your graduation, your chosen changes. Settling into what is for me, and then open to what is for you. Right this moment, attention paid to this sunny now, and this cloudy now both. Wrap words of shared presence around my people, word hugs. Give the cup of tea to myself, then offer tea. Be the patient tree for myself. Then stand still a moment for the one who needs to hear the rustle of the dappled leaves.
And we sing together, Winds Be Still, number 83, and the great hymnal, and you can remain seated as we sing together.
Winds be still, storms, clouds pass, and silence come. Peace, grace this time with Birds fly high, lift our gaze toward distant view. Help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far, and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view. Help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full symphony.
And this church is ours, and we support it in so many different ways. We support it through our gifts of time and talent and treasure. This is a moment each week that you can make a financial contribution to the church. If you'd like to give online, the ways to do that are in the order of worship. You can also make a donation here in the room. And if you would like your donation noted toward your pledge, we ask that you use the green envelope if you're giving cash. If you're a first-time visitor, please let the offering plate pass you by. The morning offering will now be gratefully received.
Come, soul of all things, make it mine to feel amid the city's jar that there abides a peace of thine. I did not make and cannot Soul of all things, make it mine to feel amid the city's jar that there abides a peace of mine I did not make and cannot mar.
It takes a lot of hands and voices to bring worship into fruition every week. And this morning, I'd like to thank Taryn for running our live stream. I'd like to thank our greeters and ushers, Teresa and Winnie and Tom. I thank our pastoral care team for sharing worship leadership today. That is Lynn and Karen, Jean and Rachel. I thank Clara and Faith with the children's program. We have a beautiful altarscape here in the front. It shows nests in honor of our surrender into self-care theme. And I'd like to thank those who came in and created that. And I think that was Paula and Terry and Clara. Thank you, it's gorgeous. I'd also like to thank Tom for being our coffee and conversation host, choir for leading us in our opening hymn, Malcolm on music, you're always so inspiring and fun to collaborate with, and Hillary for all of your administrative support. As we give thanks for the morning offering, I invite you to share the words that are in the order of worship. For the ministries of the church and our community, we bless our offering with love and hope. And a part of being able to listen deeply to another person is that process of preparing your own heart and your own spirit to be present and able to receive what is being said to you. And this morning we invite Lynn Sexton, who is sharing a reflection.
This is called Kryptonite and Universal Love. I grew up believing that if I was critical enough of myself, no one else would have to do it for me. My parents both endured physical abuse as children. I was blessed that they both knew not to be physically abusive to me. But even their deeply protective efforts could not save me from learning the lessons of shame that they had both endured. My mother assured me as a young child that if people really knew who I was, they wouldn't like me. She wasn't trying to damage me. On the contrary, she was trying to protect me from her experience, trying to teach me how to get through the world without being too noticeable, as a way to minimize hurt. I love both of my parents for doing the best they knew how. I appreciate how hard their challenges were the longer I live, but I had to seek to heal further. In a young adulthood of good and bad experiences, I took every bad outcome as proof that my mother was right, and that if only I would try harder, my outcomes might be better. At least they would if I didn't risk being myself. If I allowed that to happen, all bets were off. In any case, if I beat myself up, no one else would have to do it for me. I didn't like myself very much, and that did nothing to make me more successful in life. I could not escape the fact that what I was doing wasn't serving me well, but it took decades to construct a healthier vision of myself, and I am here to tell you that I am not finished yet. Punishing myself and beating myself up emotionally never did any good. The spiral only got worse, and whatever good I was trying to achieve only moved further out of reach. The concept of being good enough simply because I exist, it came to me slowly. It was first offered to me by a dear friend every time I called her when I was suffering a major anxiety attack. If I couldn't yet find a reason to believe it, the fact that she believed it and that I wanted to believe it, it began to make a difference. When I found a kind therapist who simply stated it to me as fact, I began to embrace it a little more firmly. I read books on self-esteem, and I began to develop some structural underpinnings to support this new idea. But nothing drove it home to me like the first UU principle, the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Every person, not just me, not just my parents, but also the ones who hurt my parents, who were almost certainly hurt badly by someone else first, and also even the ones who had hurt me. Now I had the courage to believe in my own experience of a universal love that did not visit the sins of the fathers upon several generations, but instead a love that could help each generation undo some of the remaining damage and leave something a little better to be built upon by the next. Dr. Kristen Nerf, who is a pioneer in the field of self-compassion, said, "I found in my research that the biggest reason people aren't more self-compassionate is that they are afraid they'll become self-indulgent." I hear that. They believe self-criticism is what keeps them in line. Most people have gotten it wrong because our culture says being hard on yourself is the way to be. Being hard on ourselves and on one another, hear me out on this, simply does not work. There is value in a healthy discipline. There is value in hard work. But there is also value in understanding and practicing good self-care. Our author, educator, and activist, Parker Palmer, states, "Self-care is never a selfish act. It is simply good stewardship of the only gift I have, the gift I was put on earth to offer to others." Self-care absolutely makes my life better, but it also prepares me to be of better service to those around me. I now believe that the only way for me to make a difference in this world is by being as much of who I actually am as often as I possibly can. I am just beginning to learn that inappropriate criticism of me needn't be my kryptonite. Universal love has always been the antidote. I dare to love myself as I keep learning how to let that truth fully blossom within me. It isn't easy. and kindly note that I am not always successful. But the more I try, and the more I learn to be more compassionate towards the issues that are difficult for me to resolve, the closer I come to reflecting the universal love that makes me whole.
You would turn in your teal hymnals to number 1002. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul.
And take a breath into that sense of comfort. Exhale a sense of well-being. And being mindful of breath and body, I ask you to join me in prayer. Breath of life and breath of love, We ask that the gentle winter rain offers us a sense of comfort and ease. The raindrops fall and entice us to stay as close to home as we can. Our inclination toward winter hibernation kicks in. We welcome rest, a slower pace, a chance to let the embers of our spirits cast a warm glow over us. We hold care and concern for all the people who do not have a safe place to land. People who are looking for a dry place to shelter. We hold in gratitude all of the social workers, street outreach teams, and volunteers who are readying makeshift beds so that the most vulnerable in our towns can sleep with a little more comfort tonight. During these weeks of longer nights, help us surrender into self-care. Help us identify what we need to feel whole and give us courage to seek out ways to meet those needs. Remind us to turn toward our circles of love and trust, to practice vulnerability, to make space for one another, and help us handle each other with the utmost care. For all that is our life, we give our thanks and praise. Amen.
Talk to me, talk to me. I've been trying to look inside your heart. Talk to me, talk to me. But silence keeps on pushing us apart. I want to know what you really see before it's too late and you're far away from me. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me. Your voice is like a song I long to hear. Talk to me, talk to me. All these days will pass on into years, so if in doubt, remember that you're free. And all I want is for you to talk to me. Talk to me. La 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 la. La 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 la.
Years ago in the mid-90s, my then minister, Reverend Rhett Baird, told a story in worship that has stayed with me all those years. It's a wisdom tale, and leading up to today, I Googled, I looked in all the wisdom tale books on my shelves in my office, and I cannot find a copy of that story anywhere. So I'm going to share what I remember, and I promise you my memory is inaccurate. But the way I remember it is that there was a person whose emotions manifested themselves on the outside of their body. They manifested through something the story called, I think, dendrites. And these dendrites look like tiny tendrils that flowed right out of their skin through their pores. Now, the internet says that dendrites are actually a real thing, and they are structures of neurons, and that dendrites resemble branches or they resemble a tree, and they receive information from other neurons in the environment. So, of course, we can't look down at our skin or look into ourselves and see those dendrites in there. And Aaron, I know they don't actually grow outside of our body, and I am sorry to be using dendrites in this way. I blame it on Reverend Rhett Baird. But in this story, whenever this human encountered someone else, and whenever the person they encountered ignored them, didn't listen, didn't pay close attention, these dendrites would actually start to grow. And before long, unfortunately, the person had encountered enough people who were ignoring and not paying any attention that these dendrites, they just grew and grew and grew, and before long they almost resembled like a grass skirt that this person was wearing around them all the time. And even to move through a room, they would have to use their arms to scoop up these dendrites that just kept getting in the way. And anytime they were in a room with other people, they had to watch out. I mean, think about it. When you're in coffee hour after worship, you know how easy it is to accidentally physically bump into someone. Well, the person in our story had these dendrites going everywhere, and every time they turned around, someone was knocking up against it or stepping on it. And the thing is, it hurt every time one of those got stepped on. So there was this person being ignored, not being heard, and these dendrites would just get longer and longer and longer. Not a great situation. Every Sunday, I look out at all of you gathered here, and I know that for some of you, it takes a lot for you to be here. I know some of you have come into this congregation and you have a deep-seated distrust of religious institutions. And a lot of times it's it is for good reason. Don't have to say a lot of times. And I know some of you come in here and it's hard because being here brings up feelings of vulnerability. And that's hard to sit with. And for some of you, it's tough because you're just not super comfortable being in a room with a lot of people, either still because of COVID or because other things going on in your life. And I remember my own early days in Unitarian Universalism and going into that first church that I became a member of, wondering, was I going to be welcome? And so hoping that I would be loved by the people in that room, and so hoping that I was going to be accepted, and desperately wanting to know those people and I wanted them to want to know me. When we decide that we found a home in a chosen congregation, we often have high expectations of the other people sitting in the pews. We have high expectations because we expect that they will abide by our 7 Unitarian Universalist principles. We expect that they will live out our shared value of equity and inclusion. We expect that each person here will be careful to not step on those metaphorical dendrites that each of us carry inside of us, and that on any given day and any given moment maybe escaped out through us despite our best intentions. And it's so easy sometimes for those to get bumped up against or stepped on, and it hurts. We want people here to know that each one of us is sensitive and beloved cargo, fragile, handle with care. I imagine that being stamped on our name tags as gentle reminders. Through our congregational covenant of right relations, we have a stated commitment to which each member agrees that we will do just that we will handle one another with respect and care. And yet we're also gloriously and wonderfully human. And that means we carry our flaws in here. It means we don't always show up the way we mean to or that we want to. It means that sometimes our words don't come out the way we intended. Maybe fear leaves some things left unsaid, and we are hasty, impatient, wrapped up in our own struggles and sorrows, and we don't always slow down enough to hear one another's voices in our words. Being a member of a religious community means we get to practice listening to one another through all the pauses of life. And it means listening to each other in a way that deepens trust and vulnerability and acceptance. The poem we heard earlier reminds us we're not going to be able to live in this world if we're not willing to do what He's doing with one another. The road will only be wide. The rain will never stop falling. Being part of a faith community helps us live in this world, helps us show up for one another, and ultimately for ourselves. It's been almost 30 years since I heard my minister tell the story about that person with the sensitive dendrites falling all around them. And I hate to disappoint you, but I have forgotten the end to this story. That's why I was searching everywhere for it. How will I tell my people the story ends? Does it end with this person with the sensitive dendrites just like hiding away in their room so they don't get hurt? I'm going to give the story this ending. That this person's dendrites, they grew longer and longer and longer. But anytime someone stopped and looked that person in the eye and slowed down and listened, those dendrites started to shrink up. And before long, other people in the room, they started noticing that phenomenon, that they didn't always have to keep growing longer and longer and longer, that whenever someone was right in front and looking right at them and seeing all of who they were, they shrank up and got smaller and smaller. Soon they shriveled up and those dendrites tucked back into that person's pores and stayed in their body where they are supposed to be. And the community rejoiced and danced and sang because through listening to that one person, they realized they were able to listen everyone into a sense of wholeness and well-being. And we're going to sing each other into a bit of wholeness and well-being with a song I learned in a high school youth worship a million moons ago. And I invite you to sing this line after me. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song.
I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
I will never forget you. I will never forsake you.
Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to
my heart song. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. Listen, listen, listen to my heart song. Listen, listen, listen
to my heart song. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. I will never forget you. I will never forsake you. And place a hand on your heart and reach a hand out to someone in the room or on our live stream. Our chalice is extinguished and we carry its light with us. Listen, listen, listen to each other's heart songs. You will never forget one another. You will never forsake one another, nor all that you know as holy and sacred. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen and blessed be.